In the previous video, we saw that how to create bar charts and box plots by using the seaborn and pandas data frame, and we saw that it's much more easier to create visualization based on seaborn because it's more easier to define the variables and it's closer to the English language. In this section, we will learn how to create a scatter plots and line plots by using the seaborn and pandas data frame. So make sure you click on the next page. As I said, we want to create the scatter plots and line charts based on the pandas data frames and seaborn. Still, we use the same tips data sets that we used for creating the box plots. In order to create the scatter plot, we use, instead of the cat plot, which was for the categorized plots, we use the real plot, which for the relation or relative plots that just relates two variables together. And we could define some hue for classes. Here, as you saw, that the main command that we use for the scatter plot is the SNS rel plot from the seaborn. Rel plot is for the relative or relation plots. The x-axis is the total bill, and the y-axis is the amount of tip received from the customers. And we want to categorize these data points based on if the customer was a smoker or not. And also the style of the points in the scatter plot, for example, the circle or triangle or X is the time that the customer was present in the restaurant, for example, dinner or lunch. As you saw, that's the final visualization that just shows us relatively for both cases of a smoker and non-smokers, the amount of tip is increased by amount of bill, which makes sense because the higher amount of bill probably would result to higher amount of tip. And there is no really significant difference between the lunch time and dinner time based on the amount of tip. So that's the visualization based on the scatter plot. And also the line charts are useful when you want to show the continuity of the data. For example, let's say you have some continuous data set based on time frames in the fMRI. You want to show the signals captured along a time snapshot. Here we loaded the fMRI dataset, generic dataset from the seaborn, but you can just replace it with any other custom dataset for your own, or even use the breast cancer or COVID-19 datasets. And again, we use the rel plot for creating the line charts. The x-axis is the time point, which shows the time interval of the signal that we captured in the fMRI, and the y-axis shows the signal strength. So, but the kind here, instead of showing the scatter plot, we want to show a continuous line. So the kind is defined as a line. And of course, we use the data of the fMRI that we loaded here. So that's the final curve for the line chart that we created. I just suggest to just replace the fMRI or the TIPS dataset for your own dataset and see how you could just create visualization based on your custom data. And I go briefly over the notebook which is available in this link. If you click on the final link here, you would find the notebook that recreates or reproduce all of these visualizations. Similar to the previous sections, we just load the modules, then we load the data set, then we plot the scatter plot for the bill versus tip, and finally we load the fMRI data set and we plot the line chart of the time points versus the signal strength, and we just define the kind of that it's as a line. So you see that the visualization by using the Python and seaborn and pandas data frame is really easy, and it's closer to the English language. So you can just replace all of these data set for with your own data and see how you could create the visualizations. That's just good homework for you. Thank you so much.